Hello. 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 This is a Pixel Pastiche, and today is one of the days that honestly scares me the most out of the week. It is the free day, Wednesday, hump day, the day in the middle that just needs to connect the others to themselves. And it's weird because concerning the weird breach of days that is the weekend, you know, that little pair, Wednesday, if you were to view the whole week as a 7, comes a lot earlier than you would think and doesn't balance out as much as you would hope it does. But it does come time after time, day after day, week after week, it arrives, and as such, I must. Now, for today, I didn't really have a great much planned. I got kind of wrapped up in something that occurred a little bit earlier, which was responding to a script that's gone out around. And let's go to our face cam only. Hello. A script that's gone out about React content that I found very interesting, and I thought, you know what? So often, with many things, I think a lot of words, and I say a lot of words, but I don't write a lot of words. I don't write them down and then hone them into something that might be a message that somebody might find interesting and or valuable. So I think I may as well do that. And can I tell you, having a ton of the words does not make it any easier. It only means that you have to get much better at honing. So let's take that down and away. And I'm not the best honer. I don't really hone in on much. I don't refine much, even though I really should. And hello, bud. He has food. He's just making noise because I'm making noise right now. And he thinks, oh, that's exactly what we should be doing. Let's turn on some of this. Can you hear that? Fantastic. So, my pencil is gone. That's my digital pencil. Not a real one, of course. Oh. So today most likely is not going to be a long stream, a stream of much of anything. I wrote a script for a video that I actually want to make and put out because I've talked about making videos so often on this stream, so often on this channel, and then not actually made the videos for multiple reasons. Sometimes it's just because I'm not okay with what I've put out. Sometimes it's because I'm afraid of what I put out, and other times it's because I just think it's not good enough to put out anyway. And why limit myself? Why do that? So that was the first thing I wanted to talk about. I can say that I was afraid of what to put out. I had fear that I assigned to my output. And talking about fear there, talking about this script, got me thinking about framing. Because one of the major issues that I have with this script, with this thing that somebody else has put out, is the way it's framed. The tools and the words that are used to frame it. Now, this is actually something rather interesting that I had not done before. I want to really quickly look up framing. The definition, Wordle definition of framing. Define framing, please. Okay, searching on Google, they say that the definition of framing is the action of framing something. Awesome. Frame to create or formulate, to produce evidence against, or to erect the framework of a building. I actually think all of those are a little bit terrible. So here's what I came up with in my own mind here. Framing. To frame is to provide the personally identifiable limits of a subject one is willing to address. When I talk about framing here, I am assigning limits to how far I am willing to discuss something, and within that frame, I'm willing to discuss. I'm willing to have an idea about it. But outside of that frame, without giving further reason, I shan't go. It doesn't make sense to. Now, why does that matter in the overall sense of things? When I was talking about fear, I was afraid to think about this thing. Afraid and fear, I wanted to frame as what I am willing to escape from, completely be driven to escape from. Now, let's think about this one, because I'm looking at the little note that I made. If I specifically, when I'm framing something, by that very instance, I'm acknowledging that the thing I am trying to frame exceeds the frame itself, right? Many people will try to make statements about things far larger than themselves, far larger than what they are talking about, what they believe. Hey, yo, Guar, nice to see you. And they wish to speak as though their words apply to the entirety of that thing. In my opinion, that's a little bit overblown. It's when people get to sound pompous and pretentious. No. When you want to speak about something oh so grand, you have to frame it. You have to say, hey, I'm going to talk about this cutout of this far larger thing, because within that cutout, I am willing to discuss certain aspects of it. I focus on these aspects. They may matter to me. They may be of interest to me. They may be of interest against something I was speaking of, but no matter what, you have to acknowledge that you are looking at the smaller version of whatever larger thing you're talking about. So to frame initially is to cut out of that. Now, to also recognize the frame you're speaking within and give credence to it allows for really interesting conversations, I believe. So, fear. Line goes up, video documentary on YouTube about NFTs. I did not. Can you actually re-link that one? I want to watch it again. Not a language. I don't want to watch. If I haven't watched it before, I can't watch it again. I want to actually watch it. So I clicked on it and I had it in my queue of videos to watch, and then I cleared my queue and didn't actually watch it. So can you please actually link that one to me again? Thank you, Guar. I am going to senselessly ramble on for a little bit more. I know, because the last time we talked about it, it's more than a few hours on that, right? I do want to give it the credence of it. Oh, absolutely. And NFTs, I have some thoughts about them, but I would like to see more angles on those before I say anything. Speaking of, what encouraged or what brought up this conversation, the one that I'm having to you, to the void, was the document that got brought up about all reactors are bad people. React content is a grift. React content is one of the worst things that could ever exist in the capitalist society that apparently is the internet. I don't know if you've seen it. It was a document written up by, oh, what the hell is his name? It's not Dolan Dark. It's, oh gosh, come on. Dark Viper AU, which I'm actually making a video on that I spent some time earlier on. So I will work my way way back around to it. Explain bot will look at that. Thank you, appreciate. So back to my original rant. Fear in such and frame. I wanted to put a specific frame around this fear that I felt as escape. Fear equals escape. No matter what you're doing, if you say you are afraid of something, or if you say something inspires fear in you, the only response you are having to that thing that has been labeled is to escape from it. Now, some people want to say, oh my gosh, you mean fight or flight. There are obviously two options here. Choose one or choose the other. No, I'm limiting my frame of reference to this and saying, no, right now I am only going to consider it in terms of escape, because if I'm willing to fight it, am I really afraid of it? If I have any other response to what I'm saying I'm afraid of right now, what is my other response? And the interesting part about this framing is that it's to look at what's outside of the frame, not necessarily what's within it. Because the moment you have to look outside of what you have predefined, you need to make up new definitions. You need to intrinsically say something is more complex than I want it to be. You can be afraid right there of those new definitions. You don't want to think about it. You don't want to put more time into it. You don't want to acknowledge what might require you to look at it. If you don't want to do any of those things, you escape from them. You leave them behind in some way, shape, or form. But specifically, if I've outlined something that I am afraid of right now, I was afraid of making that script. I need to talk about if I had the drive to make that script, the drive to write down those ideas. What was I actually afraid of? And if I wasn't afraid of it, how am I going to interact with it? What am I actually interacting with? Far more over text. Sup, Georgie? So nice to see you. So, now that's actually a good one. Beauty and such. If we think about this for a moment. Okay, now I'm going to take both of those together. Beauty and the other side. The idea of the other. So many people will establish their personal beliefs, their personal holdings on the idea about what they are not afraid of should always be allowed, is always welcome. And then what they are afraid of, in my limited framing of it right now, on that outside, should be avoided entirely. But that in and of itself, in my opinion, allows for a hackneyed, not a hackneyed, a hacked sort of beauty, a hacked sort of understanding. The other side, you wish, didn't agree with you at some points. So when it comes to those points, you have to ignore them. You have to push them out. You have to keep them on that other side. And then you have to say, well, anything that I have on mine, if they agree with it, I immediately have to push out. So you ignore what may be expressly agreed upon by both sides, because merely by acknowledging that agreement, you have to cede. You have to let go. You have to take back and lessen what you were trying to bolster yourself with. In that way, the framing of fear becomes awful useful. Because at the points where the fear is even, clear, their side, my side, you can keep it up. I don't go against that. Some places really are black and white, 1 to 0 binary as they may be. But for the places that aren't, you have to invent some type of new distinction for justification. Now that's weird when you think about it, right? Fear being opposite to justification, because if something is justified, it allows itself to be feared. And remember, in this conversation that I'm having, I'm not talking about the entirety of all fear, the entirety of all human experience. I'm specifically talking about it in such a way that we have to make distinctions about it, that we have to make decisions about it. In this case, every justification that I make is about saying why I should or should not be afraid of my justifications, my decisions being based in fear themselves. Right? And that's kind of strange when you think about it. Because mostly when people think about fear, people think about what they want to be afraid of or escape in this manner, because escape is what we're basing fear on. If there's ever a chance of not escaping, what happens when you can't? Before, everything we were talking about gave the power to the one who is defining fear. I said, I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. Line here, line there. Oh, we seem to agree on those things. I cede you a little bit of that line, and I take a little bit of that one. In all of those, the power is firmly established. The one who talks about the fear technically has a lot of power in that fear, right? Because I'm saying I'm afraid of it. The other thing is just existing. It may as well be. See, now that is an essentially wide one. Remember, and by the way, Georgie, the way that I started this one up is that if one is to examine something like fear from the point of the infinite, let's say, humanity is infinite, quote unquote. Experience is infinite. Ideas are infinite. I'm going on the other side of that by specifically saying we're going to frame something. My experience in that I am existing is not infinite as much as I may wish it to be. So at some point I have to put lines up. I have to put definitions up. And I'm calling that my frame, my limit of what I'm willing to understand and reason with. When you say, could it be because it reminds us that we are alive of our mortality? Mortality could be something that all of humanity exists, but right now, because I am afraid of my own mortality, I can only put a line so far as my mortality extends. I wish I could speak for yours. I wish I could speak for somebody else's, but I can't. I have to limit myself. I have to frame myself. Because by our limited understanding, by my limited understanding, I'm not even going to say our, I'm not going to enforce mine on you. I'm afraid of that infinity past my own. I have to frame it. So this discussion, by its own reasoning, by my own reasoning, I understand, is flawed, is limited. But that is the limit that I want to look at right now. Our individual souls, which we are too afraid to surrender, I'm already surrendering. My soul is my soul. I cannot put an S on the end of it. I am already surrendering. I am giving up so much more space. I'm giving up infinity space because I'm afraid of what's beyond me. The part that I'm talking about right now is now about if I've given up. Oh, let's go out to here. Let's say, because this is what I want to do. If I have a favorite book, yo. My body's in a bit of a weird space right now, so excuse me if I end up weird. If I have everything like out here as the infinity of experience, because I wanted to do some pixel art later, I'm already seeding this area. Oh, I like that. And Georgie, remind me of that in a little bit, because I'm going to come into that one. So right now, I have already seeded all of this space. Oh, of course. Okay, that's a couple of steps actually beyond what I wanted to talk about right quick. So I will get to that one, but I want you to hold on to it because I think it's really important. And I do like the process of making sure we get there. Because I believe every single step that you take towards the understanding, a lot of large ideas get spoken out, but the steps that take to get to that point are either assumed to be understood or forgotten in the strides that are taken to get to a certain place. So right now, in what we've said before, mortality, all that stuff, it's all out here. It's been done. And I am seeding that infinite space to this box right here. And what I was talking about for this point is now seeding more and more spaces, because if I need to find these little areas where something else has seemed to be pushing in, I need to make a choice whether this stays in or this stays out. Right? Because wanting to connect to everybody, wanting to connect out in a large way is something that's inherently human. But recognizing where these boundaries are, where they stand, what you should be afraid of, is no shame. And I say that very distinctly because shame itself is it bad that you acknowledge these faults? Is it bad that you acknowledge the space you wish you had is smaller than what you think you had? No. What fear drives, or what drives fear the most, are those forces that decide to push in. Because, let's zoom in on this one. We've got a force that's pushing in. We've got a force that is trying to make us find the choice in this area right here. Is it going to be out? Is it going to be in? Which is it going to be? This force is trying to make us decide, make one decide. I won't even say us. I'll say make me decide. One decide. That interaction right there encapsulates a lot of what I find to be so distressing. Right? What are these forces? Now, I'm going to start from two sides here. One from the internal and two from the external. If I view it from the internal, these forces are what I assign importance to. Importance is what these forces are. Why? Because Guar, I'm so sorry. It's the free talk day, and it's the earlier part of the free talk day. I promise you, I'm only going to ramble on like this for about an hour. And 26 of those minutes have already gone by. So yo, I'm so glad you put up with me. It's what I assign importance to. And to that right there, what matters is being defined by me as saying, well, what should I be afraid of? I've already, in the infinite, let's put it on this face cam, in the infinity that I've been faced with, that should crush my idea of humanity, I have already managed to carve out a small piece of it for myself. I've already gone against infinity and won something, won a space, won my own little bit. The bit we're talking about right here. I already won that. What else could possibly get here? Whatever I think is important. A pessimistic way, especially when viewed from the inside, is saying that once you define what's important to you, you define what you're afraid of. Because you're giving power to something that is going to seed. Yo, okay. I'll come back to that in a half a second. You're giving power to something that is going to seed space from you. Guar says here, why waste time? Say lot word when few word do trick. Because few word would be you bad. And guess what? That's a bump right there. You bad. Why? Why me bad? Just cause is another one right in there. Right? You want to say, if you have to say me no bad, you have to define why just cause not important. How many words do you need to do that? Because if I say me no bad, let's zoom in here. Let's zoom in here. If I want to say no bad, the next arrow coming in, the next arrow coming at me that I gave the power to do so says why. When you get asked why, and I'll say it one here on large screen. I need to do this with my phone, but I can't because I don't have it set up. When you get asked why, how many words do you need to defend yourself? And Guar, please, go ahead and try. I love talking, and that's what this day is for. Now, so let's go on this one. If I say, if the word coming at you is why, immediately you have to define why not. You have to use more words than your attacker, inherently. Always. And in a case like this one that Georgie just said, let's go back to main screen face cam. What if you know you're bad and all you're hiding is crumbling? Don't do that. Okay. Whew. How did that happen? I don't know. I hope you didn't miss too much of that. So, what I was saying is, if someone says, you bad, and you want to say me no bad, they immediately say why. You have to say why not. Why not two? Better than why, because why, one word. You need more words already. And if you say to Georgie, what if you know you're bad and all you're hiding is crumbling? My response was, well, so far, all we've been doing is defining, not hiding. But there's a really important part of that, because Georgie said, what if you know you are bad? No, I am bad. Well, when did we get talking about bad? Initially, we were talking about what we are afraid of and not afraid of. Fear and badness and good. Badness and good is a separate conversation that I now get to decide on. If I want to talk about bad and good, something separate from all of this, because this has only been afraid of and not afraid of. My wall has been, I'm afraid of this. That's an F. Not afraid of this. It doesn't sink to nothingness if you have to sink with it. And it can't rise to greatness if you have to rise, if you don't rise with it. Here is the core of what I am saying overall, right? If you want to look at the infinite of everything as we initially started, because remember, all this blue out here is just infinite. We are on a separate layer from the infinite. Everything that we have done, if you wanted to get as meta as that, everything we have done has not had any mark on this other layer. It's as blank as it ever was. But this is us. Messy, weird, drawing lines, drawing places. Right? Of course it's going to sink to nothingness. Why would you try to fight against that infinite? Why would you not just say, okay, I'm afraid of it, I'm not going to consider it, and then draw your lines? I drew my fear lines already. Ooh. So, there we go. Golden rule. Guar wants to say, action meaningless overall. Do thing because of golden rule, not because of abstract reason. I would say, golden rule in and of itself is abstract reason. Why do anything that does not concern line I care about? Why do anything that does not concern line I care about? Too many times, people get consumed by a fear that may be way out here. This could be your golden rule. Gold. Is it in here? Line I care about? No. Then intrinsically, by trying to go for it, by trying to think about it, I am terrifying myself. Why do it? Redistribution of matter. To redistribute is the next place we're going, because it also feeds into Guar's next comment right there. Why do chemical make brain good feeling? For a very easy instance, let's look at this. We are going to, at the moment, put to the side the action of fullness and all that time and hiding versus non-hiding. That's going to be put on the side. Please do remind me of it a little bit later. We will return to it. But right now, I think this is a good place to be. If I want to go against what I said I was afraid of, remember, not fear, fear. What goes into rewriting these lines? I've been writing them so easily so far, right? You guys haven't even questioned my line writing. What happens when I want to change these lines? Well, how thick are these lines? What's making up these lines? I have to make some sense of the infinite that's around me. How am I going to get to that golden rule? To take Guar's chemical, make brain good feeling. Good feeling. Feeling. Let's say the golden rule is something in a feeling. Well, let's just say arbitrarily, out here is our feeling section. There are feelings on both sides. And I know that on this side, I should be not afraid of these feelings, and on those sides, I should be afraid of those feelings. How do we bridge the gap and change this line? Well, the easiest way about it is saying, guess what? We can't have this line. We have to make some break in that line. And doesn't that kind of speak to anything new? How do we feel about it? Right now, this is just infinity. It's kind of nothing and everything. It was good before and it's now bad, and it was bad before and it's now good. I'm not going to raise my arms that much because my shoulders hurt. The choice of defining the line, though, is always with us. So how can you be afraid of drawing that line? Right? That's a good point to it. Consume the outside feeling. Control it. Or anything and everything all of the time. Can I interest you in everything all of the time? A little bit of everything all of the time. What is that? Something is a tragedy and boredom is a crime. Can I interest you in everything all of the time? I'm very interested in it. Many times, people want to just say, okay, that's fine. Just consume it. Draw the line. Take it in. Have it be what you're going to do. Just take all of it. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it is. It's mine now. I do know that one. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful special, by the way. Bo Burnham is a genius in so many ways. But now, what's happened to this little area? Because I would say, weirdly enough, we know what was before, and we know what wasn't before. So the moment that you define your line again, you have to understand what's been taken in. And that's another weird part of fear, right? You have to deal with this weird intersection of what's been taken in and what hasn't been. What's worth it and what's isn't. Because you cannot deny that whatever you've consumed is now new. Jokerish, I would love to hear far more about that. So let me know how you think about this going forward, right? Because even to the Joker there, you've decided to take something into you. You can now decide if it's part of you to disregard it or to regard it, but you have to make that decision. No matter how small the change to the line has been, the decision must be made. Oh, ugly versus beautiful. At this point, by its own merits and circumstances. So let's take a look at that one. How close do you want to look at these lines? Did you think they were simple? Just because I made them before, out of the infinite that it was. What are we looking at right now? Get rid of that. Does this look ugly? Does this look beautiful? There is no hard absolute here, right? Oh, those large lines, but what about these small ones, right? What if I wanted to say, hey, check this out. We've got... Whoop. Excuse me. We've got all this in here. My line was right there. It's literally perfect. Right? What can you talk about that? That is a literal perfect line. Out of all of this right here, I have 3 mathematically perfect aspects of it. That is art. That is the line. That was the jumble that was something weird before that now I have made into something absolutely perfect to my liking. Now, you want to say, oh, look over there. Isn't that weird? I'm not looking over there. I'm looking over here. And now that I want to look over here a little bit more because you want to be just that way, okay, I clean that one. And then I want to say, okay, well, that's not it, but I want to say that this is a little bit dark, and now these parts, though, are mine as well. And all of a sudden, how can you argue with that? It's a perfect line. It literally is. You cannot argue with math. Who defined the math? I did, right there. Why? Because I zoomed in on it. I looked in on it. It may have been ugly before. So here's the metaphor. If you want to look at something from the largest side of things, it will appear as ugly as it can, as ugly as it may. And any change you make is intrinsically by itself ugly, nasty. But if you think that by making those changes, you have compromised the entirety of what you're looking at, you need to change your frame. Now, Guar, I know you're intelligent. I know you've been listening. What did we start this whole conversation about? Framing. The limits that I'm willing to discuss about what is in or out of frame. I, right there, to address what you thought was so horrible, just changed the frame. I just zoomed in. What else can you see right now but a perfect line and infinity? Right? Anything can be grand if done on a large enough scale. Anything can be majestic if done on a small enough one. Regardless. Not even big tech. This is the smallest of tech. Regardless, I will say right here, if the issue that is being viewed, especially when it applies to the person. Because remember, I've been in control of a sprite this whole time. And I'll put my main face up. I've been in control of the image the whole time. And I got to choose how large of it or how small of it was being examined. How it was being changed. And everything that you could say in the chat, everything that was coming through, I had to deal with. And I was constantly changing frame, sometimes zooming out for that grand look. To Georgie's point, sometimes I was all the way out here with this grand look. It's taking up everything. There's so much around there. But also, to Guar's point, if me no brain, me just look at this small part and think, man, ain't that fine? What me think about but 4 points on board? For the modern mind is whimsical and descriptive and class of mind is lyrical. Now, okay, I will actually point out that point. Oh, I like to say obsessiveness is one of the ways to be. Choosing and adhering to a frame is no crime. But being unwilling to move said frame is. To that to say, if the classical mind is narrow, for Guar, me only look at points that me can see. Me like big points on screen. Small points, no. Big points, yes. Then, me fine. Me look at big point. Me say, not that one. Me like way points look. Me okay overall. And this might be your idea of classical thinking. But to say that classical thinking is incapable of then shifting over and saying, me now looking at big points that happen to make something me not like to look at, me unwilling to sort through. Me unwilling to make concessions. And to find point where me might still be okay. I think that's a problem in and of itself. Sure, we got some red over here, but me like hair color. Me like stubble color. And that's a great point. So, interconnecting and changing, or minds changing based on the interconnected chaos of the modern world, it's a difference of framing in my point, or in my conception. Because it's absolutely fine if for the basis of someone's life, they only get to see this part of it. But to condemn them for not being able to zoom out and see all of this part, and then condemn them further for not being able to deal with those parts, well, that's difficult to deal with. That's a lot of other points. But shifting a frame can go so much further to say, well, you might not be able to talk about the large overarching points. That might be too much. Just because, not by any fault of yours, but merely by the way that you are. By the way that you were born and brought and live up. Because if you were brought up in 1920 versus 2020, you're being brought up in a very different world. Condemning a person based off of that world makes no sense. Everybody, though, should be able to shift their frame. Should be able to be brought to a point where they can move their frame and understand, if not a little bit more, a lot more. Well, I just think there's something in it, that old platitude. I even learned Latin, so amor, love, all something. Victory, no? So, what is that Latin platitude that you bring up right there, Georgie? Because I would love to know about it. I would say that everybody is going to be presented with some frame. To ignore the existence of the frame, to ignore the existence of what the limit of your own experience is and may be, is to disrespect that existence itself. But to condemn somebody whose frame falls within yours and does not see the grander scale of it, such as these two smiley faces, is just as bad. Does that make some sense? Oh, I'm not going to touch on that one because I want to make sure that now this one has just been kind of like, I've just been talking off the dome piece for a bit. Plundered by an other name by his dying. So the Doom to Hell or Not, I think, is a really interesting conversation based on belief as a frame. Now, we haven't even said the words belief yet. And I don't think we will, just because I want to keep it somewhat light, but it is rather interesting. Let's see. Omnia vincit amor. Oh, love conquers all. So let's actually end on that. I've been going for about 53 minutes. This is the beginning of the talk stream, so I just think it's kind of fun to talk about things like this as they are. Love conquering all. By the way, Guar is right on that. Georgie, love the input. It's so good. Let's come back to our little cut of infinity here. Because love often comes up as one of the most human experiences. Period. If I say that love is that, if I'm to say that love is that, right? Because this is what we've been doing the whole time. Whatever is in here is, and whatever is out here is not. Who is to say that mine is also not that? Because whose is that? Whose is that? Love conquers all. If I say the word love, am I instinctively talking about the exact same thing that you are? Whoever you are. If you say it. Because if we were talking about the same thing, there would be no question of it. And that's basically my response to it. Now, let's go back to that one. Some can even say love doesn't conquer everything, and whoever thinks it is a fool. Let's go this way. If I say the word love, and I say love conquers this, What am I conquering? Because I could say that this is either love and not love, or I could say that this is conquered and not conquered. Are we equating love and conquering? And if you're to make such a statement, does to love something mean to conquer it to you? Where do you draw those lines? And intrinsically, are you saying those lines match mine? Must they match mine? What would you do if they did not? And are you afraid of that answer? It's the same, and I will always come back to this. It's the same one. What is the tragedy? If love has a certain life, at what point do we say something in here is life and something out here is not life? Because on and on. The most important part that will always matter to somebody who speaks those words, who tries to think about these concepts, will be where those lines are drawn. And how conscious of those drawn lines they are. Because if one wants to view love in terms of tragedy, not in terms of conquering, right? Because now we're talking about something differently. If you want to say love is meant for something, then we are saying that there is some definition between what it's meant for and not meant for. Then we have to say, okay, well, we know what meant and not meant for is, then what's the tragedy of the love? So the beauty, I believe, in it overall, to the earlier question, is that some people out there manage to draw lines that happen to intersect with so many interpretations of what that idea of love is. They use the same word, but they happen to make these weird, large intersections into something that may be somebody's tragedy over here, and somebody's conquering down there, and somebody's experience down here, and somebody's loneliness there, and somebody's gloriousness up here. And then it's like, oh, when did that? And in making sense of it, as we all have to draw our own lines, people then get to say on their own terms, well, mine is kind of right here. That's the tragedy of it. Why? Because it is to me. Well, my glory of it is right down here. And mine is there. But because somebody has done such a wonderful job of drawing that fine line, that beautiful line that hits all of those different areas, no matter who tries to carve their own experience out of it, there's a large chance it intersects with somebody else, and that gives them the chance to connect. That's my point. And that's my whole thing. with talking about these lines. If you want to look at it in a finite frame, it only matters as much as it matters to you. But as soon as you start to look in the infinite frame, it matters as much as you can intersect with others who are already drawing their own lines, regardless of what you do. Does that make any sense? Or does that sound like it might make some sense? And remember, we started this way back on fear. The last thing I'll say before we move on to goddamn, I don't know. I only had this to be completely honest, I wrote down on a post-it note, which I've been looking at this whole time. I wrote down that idea of fear earlier today because I was like, I know I want to talk about this at least for the first hour. But I also know that I don't have much else to think of past this point. Human experience can always have the same lines drawn over it time and time again. But whatever gets put in those lines causes the conversation to mean something to the people drawing them, you know? Is all that is wanted the dramatic ending, the broken heart, the great tragedy worth Shakespeare's rated? So let's actually I'm going to stop that one, make us another one here, and draw down, because this is nice to have a little stop. Let's go for this. I'll actually follow up on that one a little bit. Is all that was wanted the dramatic ending, the broken heart, the great tragedy worthy of Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet in another time? I would say what the matter? What's the matter with all those? And you may be thinking, well, isn't that kind of dismissive? God, what's wrong with you? Spoiled sport. I don't mean it in a dismissive frame. I mean, what's the matter? Now, let's look at that. When he dies, he knew that his story had an end. Did he know that a story would even be made of it? What mark mattered more than just trying to be with Juliet? Right to that even point. What is the matter with the story there? Neither Romeo nor Juliet survived that story. Both of them ended up dead. Right? Now, to this point, I'll say, when another him asked her to marry him, who is her? Is she Juliet? Because if you say actual Juliet, Juliet is no more. She drank the real poison and she ended, because that's the way that the story was written by Shakespeare. Right? And the idea is that Romeo and Juliet was designed to evoke certain emotions in the real people who would read the story. The real people who could relate to the story. Oh, to that very point, I can almost guarantee you, back in the 1900s, there were two real people who went through something quite similar to what Romeo and Juliet went through. What were their names? I would say we don't know, because as much as we know the story of Romeo and Juliet, we don't know the story of... To that point though, as much as we know the story of Romeo and Juliet, we don't know the story of our own neighbors. We don't know the story of the person who's on the train across from us. At some point, years before Leonardo DiCaprio, who played Romeo in Romeo and Juliet, was a star in the movie of Romeo and Juliet, he was a kid in a high school somewhere that everybody walked by. And years before, I don't remember who actually played Juliet on that one. It's a terrible, I'm so sorry. But years before she was Juliet, John D. Rockefeller and John Pinkerton, years before they were who they are as we know them. Get out of my face, Guar. Years before those wonderful rich people were, those wonderful actors were, those wonderful stories were, they were nameless. They were storyless. It hadn't been written. And the only reason we have some conception about what they may have been going through is because somebody designed a completely make-believe story that happened to trace that line through all of our intersecting experiences, and that happened to make sense to all of us, right? Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows? No, I have not, but I will make a note of it right now. I like it wonderfully. Georgie, to your point, and to the larger point, everybody who is in humanity experiences some aspect of that love. That grand part of humanity that links us all, that grand experience that nobody can escape. The same as seeing the sun for the first time, the same as falling into it, falling out of it. Everybody experiences that. But only a few people will be able to express it in such a way that evokes the feeling from within. The reality of it is trying to tackle the same reality as the background of what I was even drawing on. You know? If you want to look at that, of course, you're outpacing yourself. You get lost in it. Even everything that we wrote with all of this detail is just that lost. Just that lost. But if we want to look through time itself, at some point in everyone's life, they're going to have that level of detail. But for those who may not, or for those who may be looking for it, where do they get to trace that line? Where do they get to notice something they may never have before? Because somebody else showed it to them. That's human experience, straight on. He dies not knowing anything. He dies and dies. And she dies and dies, but they both die with some sort of hope. And we only know about that hope because somebody wrote it out, that they had it when they died. Does that make a little sense? Oh, shouldn't be turning this much. And then, Georgie, you say you want to read Homer. What about Homer makes you want to read it? Site made up with words, specific things without a good word. Stop. Thank you for that, Guar. I'll look into it right after. Actually, speaking to that point, I hope you guys don't mind if I go on a little bit farther before we transfer. Okay. Yeah, Guar, I'll watch it. A model of an American dad? Now that's something delicious. So we can say requec for it. Hiding and not hiding beauty is terror. I actually want to save that one because it's been about an hour and 12 and I was gonna want to do some art for the most of it. Ugh. But my hands are feeling a little bit terrible. So I will take a vote with the both of you. We can wax more philosophical and kind of go into that, or we can try to. Well, what else would we do? God damn it! This is what happens when I don't have a stream planned. I apologize. I'll take that vote. Homer was meant to be secretly Krusty the Clown all along. That's why they thought that Bart would be able to look up to him and then also not look up to him at all. We can take a... We can take a art idea like Guar shouted out last time and try to make a pixel art version of it. Last time we made... this little guy. Our little dancing lobster. So we can... because I'm probably going to only continue on for like the next... especially after doing that. Next hour or so. Maybe up till... what is it? 7 over here. But I'm down to do either. We can either try to do some art, switch up the music and go to... some more upbeat stuff, or we can try to do some philosophy whatnot. My only regret is that I have bonitis. Oh. By the way, as a little personal thing, I went to the doctor today, and I went to a spine doctor, and he was like, "Yep, you got a bit of scoliosis going on there, and yep, we can see that your muscles are kind of bunched up around the scoliosis, but we don't actually know what else is happening, so let's have another MRI." That's all that happened. By the way, music level wise, how is that? Georgie, Guar, how you feeling? The vote is still open, by the way. I'm free to go either way. We can either art up or we can philosophy up for the last bit that we have. Ugh. Was too funky for a sex. Oh my gosh. Regular funk levels, fantastic to know. Music a bit. Okay, we'll take that right down. So, actually, now to that point, I've had acupuncture done for years. I've been getting acupuncture for about See, now I actually have a video that I've been working on. I talked about it at the very beginning of stream, which is what got me talking into fear, believe it or not. I want to like make an actual response video to the drama that's been happening around reactions type content. And I don't want to like play something on stream and then react to it without having that video up. But I've been having acupuncture for like nigh on 3 years now, and the last time I went to acupuncture was in 2021. Oh, okay, now I'm gonna actually use this for a little bit of personal illustration. So when I go into acupuncture, they do this thing where, oh, duh, Reddit, super good place for discussions. Yeah, I know that too well. They have you lie down on a table just like this. And normally my arms go back around like that. I swear my shoulders are not that boxy, and my body comes kind of back like that. And then goes out here. And those are my hands. And she will... Even when they try to explain both sides, Reddit is its own side itself. I've been going for a couple of years, so like she knows where to put stuff when I talk about it hurting. And she did this one where I was like, hey yo, I'm really tense around my... I wish I was. Greek God. I'm really tense around my neck and right shoulder. Can you give me some relief on there? So she put pins like here, 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 there, there. And then she like finds these places in the middle of my spine and puts them down. One up here, one in my elbow, and then like two in my hands. But then on my right side, she put like one up here, one in there, another one in there, one in there, one in there, one in here, two in there. It was so, and then, oh my gosh, the absolute artiste David himself. I asked for cupping, and normally when they, oh, I wish I'd put that on a separate layer. Normally, when she does cupping, she'll like take a cup and then move it along my skin. So it like picks up a bunch of muscle underneath and then lets it all go after she moves the cup. Yo. Yeah. She, though, when I asked for the cupping, I was like, yeah, cupping is normal. She took the cups and laid them on, but then just like left them there. Oh my God, you don't get relaxed after sucking? Gwar. You need to know what's going on, man. Excuse me, but you need to know what's going on. But she took them and she left them on. So instead of like giving us that wonderful space between where everything was relaxed, what she did was left these cups here that are just pulling consistently while the acupuncture is doing its thing. And I swear to God, this was the most uncomfortable. I need to go back to just This was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. Because once you get the needles in you, they really start to work on your muscles, and like after about 5 or 10 minutes, stuff starts moving around. Really fine stuff that you wouldn't even think of normally. But if it's being sucked on by those big ass cups, it starts moving into those big ass cups. So she leaves me there. Each session is like 40 minutes. Now here's the thing. She gave me, if we zoom in here, she gives me a little, until this year, she gives me a little button. And she was like, so when you want the cups off, touch the button. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I've got my finger on the button. I think I have the keys to the city right here. I started feeling things moving at first, but I've been with this woman for, now I sound like a bad romantic. I've been with her for years now. And like I've had her relieve horrible amounts of pain for me. Like I've walked in being unable to move my hips and walked out fine. So she has done wonderful things to me. It's not like this was a one-off, I met her in the mall. Click the button, she says. Safe word to stop the suck. This thing, I want to even color that one. This thing, this button, I have only touched once in my 3 years with her. And the one time I had to touch it was when somebody else jacked up the pins that she told them to put in me. And I had to hit the button and get myself ejected from the situation. I can't raise my arms. So, I click the button, and do you know what happens? Nothing. I click the button, and because I've put the effort into clicking that button down here, this just intensifies. And mind you, it's not these over here. It's not these over here. It's just this one because only one part of my body is tensing in a time where I'm supposed to be completely relaxed. So I click the button again and nothing happens. And then I'm in there and I go, hello? Because I'm face down into the thing. I'm face down into it. There's a little space cut out, but like your head is in the space. I can't move, and I will not cobra up. Ow. Fuck. Excuse me, I don't mean to curse. I will not cobra up while I've got pins and suction cups on me. So I go, hello? Nothing. So I try to click the button again, and every time I click the button, because of the positioning, because of where I am, I start now feeling the relaxation turns into tension. And I click it again and go, and I try to breathe in, but every time I breathe in, because everything is all loose, it like starts doing stuff to me. I sat there for an eye on about 20 min. I clicked this for about 5, and I made noise for about the other 15. And at the end of that, she finally came in. And she took the cups off of me, and she was like, oh, sorry about that. By the way, she is an absolutely wonderful person. I am not disparaging like her as a person. Just the experience that I had. And she took the pins out of me, and I was like, okay, I will pay again for this. Is there anything you can do? Like, don't put me on my back. Lie me face up. Is there anything that you can do to just relieve full body tension? And she was like, yeah, we can do something. And I was like, you know your button doesn't work, right? And she was like, right there. I told her. I was like, you know, your button doesn't work. This was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever felt. And she was like, really? And then she clicked it herself because the thing that I do like about the place is they used to be in a place where if somebody walked down the hallway, you could hear them in the hallway. So there was, like, specifically for the acupuncture, it was set a little bit back. It's meant to be a place where, like, you can't necessarily hear the world around you. They play some wonderful, it's the shoulders thing. They play some wonderful music in the back, or they just play like a noisemaker that does white sounds, or they play nothing. You can customize all that, no additional charge. And she was out front dealing with other patients. I told her, I was like, you know, your button doesn't work. And she was like, it just did earlier today. I apparently got this thing. Oh, yo, I don't know. I just got this thing the day that the battery, single AA battery, decided to die. This is a battery they change every 3 weeks. I don't know how much charge it uses, but it uses the minimum amount of charge. And I got it when in the morning it worked, because she had heard it in the morning for somebody else who had stuff done on their ankles. And I just happened to be there when it didn't work. So it's not like they did anything to kill me. It's not like, well, excuse me, she did anything horrible because she is a bad acupuncturist. No, I would still go back to her again. I'm just kind of terrified to, because this one, everything I've been seeing with the doctors so far, and this one interaction killed it for me. It killed it for me. So I fully endorse acupuncture. And if you find somebody like she, because she knew what was going on. So many times I'd walk into her with like vague conversations of, oh, I kind of know what it is, or it's kind of over here, or when I try to lift my arms, I feel it here and there. She knew what was up. But with all of it so far, just because of that one interaction, I personally have to like get over going back. And I know that's a little bit stupid. You could say, well, how can you recommend it to other people if you yourself won't go back? I didn't know I had scoliosis and this woman was dealing with me. I didn't know that I had separation in my hips and this woman was dealing with me. So I don't want to go back to her with the wrong information and put myself in a terrible situation like that. Of course I can say, oh, check the battery, but it's just been disgusting. Yeah, no, that one was, and that's the other thing. Why would I be so glib? Because technically, I was the one who asked for it. I was like, I know cups work, and I know the pins work. Part of me did put myself in that situation. I'm a bit conflicted about it. So yeah, no, that's my... That was my electronic safe word did not work for the cups, although I kind of did it to myself. Story and situation. But yes, if you get the chance to do acupuncture, like if your muscles and your connective tissues are in the right place. Now, we talked about this one. Not trusting massage/chiro. Massage, you can almost always trust. Like when they're just pressing into you, no matter what massage does, unless they specifically use a tool, because if they bring tools into it, no. You'd best know what you're talking about. You'd best know what you're doing. Don't touch me. But if they're just going to like rub their hands over you overall, human muscles respond to massage rather well. Georgie, Guar. Endurance is one thing, but I can tell you as somebody who endured a fair amount of pain up until the point where my body just gave out and now I can't work properly. It's like, gosh, it's even some hot stone massage. Just give your body something a little interesting and have it kick through there. It's not worth hundreds of dollars, but it's worth once or twice. Absolutely. Chiro, though, I can understand. Because a lot of chiropractors don't know what they're talking about. We're going to go like this. A lot of chiropractors do not know what they're talking about. They just want to experience the crack. And they just want to be sensations on YouTube. So they do whatever they can to get people in. But enduring the pain, not worth it. I promise this does not look like what that looks like. I need to change the cap of that. Check the box, Squire. Check the box. You see, even when I try to draw something like an arm, it just comes out. I'm sorry. So, the most unbearable pain I actually have ever had was... So, this was the months ago, I can actually say November of 2021. Stamps with the shocks. I don't know what the stamps are per se, but I have the idea. And I always keep a massager at my feet. Before the stream, for about an hour and a half, I go through stretching and using the massager. So like oh my gosh, I got a whole process for it. Worst pain I ever had was I was asleep. And it came to about like 3-ish in the morning. I had been having some issues with my leg. And I couldn't quite tell what was going on with it. But I was able to fall asleep around like 2 a.m. And I thought, oh, this will all be fine. We'll be good. 3-ish a.m. in the morning. I wake up and I'm going to like stand up for this one so I can kind of show you guys. Oh. So, when it comes to like this part of my body, maybe I can actually use my second camera. I'll actually show you. So, oh, never mind. The next go cam is just not working. I'll forget. Okay, forget about that one. It was like all along here, and then down the entirety of my leg into my ankle. The issue was that, imagine like, you know how you have your leg. Imagine that at the top of your ankle, everything in your foot, from the bottom of the tops of your toes to the bottom of your heel to the sides of your foot, just shrunk by like an inch in every direction, and like got right into your ankle. And then imagine at your hip, everything that is around your lower back, from like the middle of your hip, everything just shrunk like an inch. It literally felt like Edward Scissorhands took his hands and dug them into those areas of my body and then pulled them downwards. It felt like things were ripping / tearing / pulling on one another. And the worst part was, I was so disoriented after like just waking up that I couldn't tell what was happening. If you had told me I was being stabbed, I would have believed you. I couldn't tell if it was on top of my skin or underneath my skin or anything. It, like, it just, and I was lying down. So, and I was in such a strange position that the terror added to my pain. So that happens, and I feel it, and there is nothing I can do about it. Like, I want to start turning and twisting and flipping out, but the most I can do, because my right side is still there and my left arm is still there, I can just push myself up and make noise. And I started to move a little bit and it felt worse, and then I stopped moving and it only felt a little bit better, but it still felt terrible. Like, that was the part that was more than the pain, because the pain was bad. Effectively, what happened is I rolled over onto my stomach. I like got my hip into an interesting place, and then I kind of used like pushing up with what I felt were my fingers and toes, and like kind of like pushing things away from where they were pulling in. Because now my doctors, I've told them this story. I've told them the story time and time again. I've told it to at least 5 different doctors, and each one of them has given me the same. I kind of don't know what's going on with it. That's interesting. On a scale of 1 to 10, 11. Okay, interesting. In the pain, kind of right where the hip meets the joint, like where the femur sockets into the hip, and why I say cut off at the ankle, like where the ankle meets the rest of the foot. After kind of like stopping myself and feeling that pain, there was something about it that I could push against. And if I pushed against it, I felt tension, but not pain. So I just like kept on. I was kind of like, I kept in there. Everyone says 11, even if they stub their toe. Toe stubbing is like a solid 8 though, right? Stubbing toes sucks. So like I found myself into that place, and then I like pushed against it and breathed. And it's so weird, but like breathing does a whole bunch of a ton for you. And over the course of about 40 minutes, I was able to go from 11 on the pain scale to like 9 to like 7 to like the 3 or 4 I've been used to forever. Because even when sitting here, I'm at about like a 2 or a 3. Since I've been taking the melatonin and the riboflavin, it hasn't been as pronounced. But I'm always like, it's so weird to say, I'm always in pain. Getting my mind about it and realizing that I wasn't being stabbed, and like breathing and saying, okay, it was like this 5 minutes before, it's probably going to be like this for the next 5 minutes. If it's at this level of pain, I can deal with it. Why? Because I've already dealt with it. That thought process, I worked through like over and over and over again, because I was like, if it never stops, then guess what? The sun is going to come up at one point, and if I keep on doing this, I'll reach that point. So I did it before. Let's just keep going. Whoa. And then that got me in. Oh, Hell's Itch in a reaction to sunburn. And that's the part that I was talking about. Like, no, that's not, stream's not over quite yet. It will be soon, but not quite yet. Pain gets so much worse when you don't know what's going on with it. Like, when you don't know what causes it, when you don't know where it's coming from, when you don't know what's doing it. To speak of the terror earlier. Oh my gosh, see, now that just sounds like torture, Guar. Being feasted on by ants? And I've had poison ivy and poison oak. Damn though, 3 to 4 days, like, yeah. So, now, I don't want to speak for anybody else's experience outside of my own. I cannot and will not for that. Oh, we're not limited. There we go. I cannot and will not for that. Hey, love face. Have fun there, okay? Nice to see you. So, I cannot and will not speak for anybody's experiences out of my own, but what I will say is, there's a certain... there's a certain relief that I kind of found in the idea that what I'm feeling has ebbs and flows to it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my god. It's so weird because that's what having a mod feels like. Guar. Oh, Guar, thank you. But that's what... That at least gives me like some type of base anytime that... Because frequently I'll get random stuff where it'll like sting in my... It'll sting in my legs, it'll sting in my hands, it'll sting in my chest and everything. As long as I can say like, okay, I kind of know the ebb and flow of it. I know it's going to be this bad for a bit, and I know how long it might last. It doesn't rationalize away the pain. It doesn't lessen the pain, but it gives me some frame to like understand it through. And that makes me feel somewhat, I don't even want to say the word better. It just makes me feel less like it's hopeless. Oh, poison ivy and oak is death. Itches. Itches. Scratching feelings. Right, like... It's weird because pains like those, or like burning pains that you have, like if you've ever... I don't know, Guar, Georgie, have either of you ever like scalded a hand? Or had some type of long-lasting deep skin burn? It's the knowledge of it being there, that underlying just existence of it, that's the worst, even if it's not that high on the pain scale. Oh, right, like there's just, because at a certain point, humans have to pay attention to something that exists for that long. Humans cannot ignore it. That's the worst part about it. You can't ignore that. I'm not surprised. Right? Like, oh, Georgie, like, Tavozine on Benadryl. You can, even when, the worst thing about those pains, like the Benadryl idea, is that you get kind of blurred to it. You get kind of numb to it, but you're always aware that it's happening. Burns are the absolute worst, Georgie. I hope that you have like no more burns in the rest of your life, okay? I'm not even sure what that may mean overall, but nobody, like, no, just, And the existence of that type of pain, it's an unignorable reaction. Because that's the other thing, like, pain, I don't mean to wax philosophical, I promise you I'm not going there. But pain itself is a reaction, it's a response, and it's also a very necessary one. I dropped a pan, stop. Like a month ago, I was actually trying to use something that wasn't my air fryer, and I dropped a burn and pain on myself, and that shit sucked. Like, it's the worst. Oh my god, and steam burns suck because they come out of nowhere. Ooh, your roommate baconed his... Okay, I have to point it out there. I've never heard somebody use the verb baconed in such a way. I've never heard somebody use the verb baconed, period. My roommate baconed his hand. That's kind of sick. Oh. But I do hope he is okay. But yo, steam burns, dude, like as I was saying, those just, they're almost like the afterthought of pain. Yo, by the way, I do have to say, Guar and Georgie, you guys and your command of the English language is one of my favorite things. Georgie and his puns, and Guar with like, Guar comes up with terms and words that I've never heard of before, and I find out they're real, and it like makes my day. Georgie, when oh my god, Guar, you should have seen it when Georgie was going off with his rhymes and with their rhymes and with their puns. It was so insane. It was so insane. I appreciate it every single time. No, the last stream we had when we were talking about Nier, and you were like, Nier inspires fear in his enemies, something. Damn it, I can't remember. I know. I caught myself. You heard me, Georgie. I said they and there. I stopped. Come on. Because I will admit, obviously, I'm speaking off the dome piece. I will make mistakes. I just hope, Vum today, I just hope that you don't hold it against me. I don't mean it in any sort of offensive way. And because you're here and because you even mentioned it, I will do my best to always pay attention to something like that. So, Georgie is a they, them. So no worries about it. That was my mistake and my bad. I do apologize. But no, when Georgie was in the last stream, when we were doing the stream before Zomboid, which I'm not even sure is going to be coming back. I'm not sure I'm going to be doing Zomboid again. I hope that was that a good representation of it? I was like, hey, yo, Georgie is a they, them. If you make the mistake, it's absolutely fine, but we're all about respect and fun here. And Guar, if you, I tend to say man a bunch when it's just like, it's not even a resignation, but when it's like, oh my God, the obviousness. Man, I wasn't even thinking of that. If I say it that way, I'm not making any statement on you or who you or how you are. So yeah, sorry about the confusion. But earlier when we were doing Jupiter Hell and Georgia was making up rhymes for near awash, it was sick. Hey yo, fair. But Guar, you've got your own sense of word intelligence. And I enjoy the absolute both of you. So thank you once again. Hey bud, hello. Hi buddy. What's up with you? Well, I'm not dropping Baldur's Gate. Don't even. So, okay, I'll split this answer. One, Baldur's Gate is no. Fantasy Fridays are staying, and Baldur's Gate has a lot more going for it. Zomboid Tuesdays, most likely going to be dropped. I'll make videos about those. It can be kind of terrifying to want to put your pronouns in your name, in your moniker, in your description, because a lot of people, like, no matter how you describe yourself, a lot of people always kind of want to just shit on the idea that you think you want to, you know? That's the the oldest rules of the internet. Everyone on the internet is a man. There are no girls. I don't say that because I believe it. I say it because it was an old meme that made people feel a lot more comfortable with themselves. If you do it in such a way, I can understand why some people who would want to cause harm to you or want to have an issue with you would choose it as a reason to attack. But the worst part is those that don't kind of wouldn't mind it. And I know in a lot of Discord areas, online, the concept of the online avatar is one of the most advanced things we've got in a long time. it would be a rough thing to do right now, but I believe, Georgie, in not too long, it'll be kind of accepted. It's already accepted in a lot of meetings. It's already accepted in a lot of discords, and a lot of beings. I hope you get a chance to. And Georgie, if you ever want to hear, and if anybody gives you shit about it, one, Guar is my mod, but also in what I can do, I want to make sure that this chat, is not trying to attack, shit on, or be terrible to anybody out there. So if somebody gives you something in here, we'll get on them, okay? Don't worry about that. And yes, Guar is very right. I leaked my shit just by showing my face. Somebody out there is gonna be recognizing this mug at one point or another. But by the way, yo, check this out. Look at this. Not that one. Damn it. Okay, I just did it again. I wanted to show my blank desktop because I moved everything over to my second monitor. And now if you want to pause and look at the pixels, go ahead, have fun. But yeah, no. My stuff's out there. Hopefully nobody knows exactly where I live. But the online persona, the online idea is something that will be ever evolving and ever more important in society. It's undeniable that it will be. By the way, I hope you guys don't mind my I'm just rambling about my stuff. I don't normally do something at even this level of fineness, and it looks like trash. I can understand that one. Now, okay, I'll tell some stories about my online presence on this one. I have made and lost so many internet accounts currently. Oh my gosh. When they do it and you're not expecting that, that's disgusting. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I think that's all of them. Let me check. No, not Pat. No, not that. Yep, I have 14 separate accounts, and that is not even including the 3 that I use online. So, like, having the proper pen name, establishing that area for yourself is extremely impactful. Don't give me a WTF, Guar. Come on. I mean, it started simple. It actually, weirdly enough, it really did start simple. Back when I played, it's not Paranoia. So, like, I made one for when I was a boxer. I made one for my boxing and my boxing socials and the boxing that I had with USA Boxing online and all the emails I got from there and like all the workout programs that I did. So I had one for that. And then when I did one for coding, I had a separate one over there. And then when I did one for poetry, I had a separate one from there. Okay, so if making new emails is a hobby, I wish I could say I was the same. Georgie's over here like, I have active accounts and I love making them. You and I are not the same. Go, like, but I can kind of, so Georgie, to that point though, because they're active, like all of mine are still active. And I do have to say, everyone is still active, and I still check each one of them. There's a certain nicety to that one, like where you say, hey, these other ones haven't been touched quite yet, or like they don't have info that I need to pay 200 over the years. Oh my gosh, they're an absolute champion. They're an absolute champion, Georgie. Oh my gosh, that's actually amazing. Over the years, I'd say like my upper limit is 60 or something, because when I played World of Warcraft and I had to come up with names for all my different characters, which is why I love making names for like the Jupiter Hell names or like the Baldur's Gate names, making up new names for stuff and new monikers, new ways to identify. Oh, I love those. Because they each one is its own thing. And even though I haven't made that many, you always got to think of like a reason for the being, or a way that you attach to the name, or a way you feel about the name. Because that makes the name matter. That makes the email address matter. That's important. Crazy like a fox. In the best of ways. Plus, you may say, now my memory would be too bad, would be too terrible to pull all 60 together, but when my phone remembers a lot of my logins, oh, that just does it well for me. It's just, oh. Yo, the clean slate loving is also something I didn't even touch on. But that's mad important for it too, right? Each one gets to be its own thing. Not tied down, not limited by whatever came before. Okay. What time is it? Damn, okay. I might have to rethink doing art as like just cleanup, because I can't be holding this tight onto the pen for too long. And we barely did anything on this guy. But So what I'm gonna say is, I'm gonna pause on that. Oh, as soon as I start getting the feeling in my fingers, I'm gonna start calling it. Oh, we can that, we can this. Oh, there will always be some lost to time. Always some lost to time. But what matters is that they existed. Not you. And then we'll leave that in. Oh, I do want to say. Let's move this over. This was our Free Talk Wednesday. Yeah, no, this was actually mad fun. Yo, Guara Georgie, how did you like the idea of like starting out with some philosophical? I wrote down the post note earlier today. I had some thoughts about it, and then I was like, I'm just gonna wing the rest. I think I had fun speaking with you, and I hope you feel comfortable. I hope you do, obviously. Talking back and forth with chat is one of the best things that I like to do, because it keeps me thinking more, and I will always take another perspective, another idea, another chance to expand. So I liked it. I hope you'll like it. And going forward, Wednesdays will be our free talk art. We'll see kind of where the stream takes us overall. Thursday, it's Horror Thursday. I'll talk more about it when it starts up, but I will try to get a horror game actually working on this computer, which has been possibly the worst horror out of all of that. Just getting something playing. I want to so bad. And it doesn't. But I'll always try again. Persistence breeds excellence. That's not how it goes. And then Friday, Fantasy Fridays. Don't worry about Baldur's Gate going anywhere. We'll jump right in with Heinrich Hopscotch again and have some fun. Till the next time, though, Joji Guar, have an absolute wonderful. And to anybody watching, if you're watching the VOD, if you like the video, please do like the video. Click the button. It means a ton. And if you like me, please subscribe. I'll be doing more. I'll be streaming more, trying to every day as long as my body allows. Till the next time, no matter who, no matter where, and no matter how, thank you